Donnie McClurkin. I didn't even want to ask him to say the name of the artist. I thought we would stick with the title. Yeah, yeah, McClurkin. Can you imagine the carnage? Hello, Ackah-Blay. How are you?
Hi, Kojo.
Good. I see you are excited and ready for Say It Right.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. All right, our inspirational song is brought to you by Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows.
And let's get into our Drive Safe campaign, brought to us by Joy News and the Multimedia Group and supported by Toyota Superior Quality and Imperial General Assurance Solid Protection. So avoid all distractions, keep both eyes on the road and hands on the steering wheel. Be visible, drive with your lights on at night, and that's how you drive safe.
So here it is, Say It Right, brought to you by Kingdom Books at Kingdom Quality and Affordability are their hallmarks, and SG Bank Ghana. The future is you.
Something must be done.
You say either, I say either.
Let me ask you something. How do you pronounce this word? A-S-K. The proper pronunciation of that word is ask, not axe. Ask, not axe. It means to say something with the aim of obtaining an answer. It can be traced back to the Old English word askian, which means to call for an answer. Axe, on the other hand, A-X-E, is a tool used for cutting wood. It's quite common to hear people confuse the two words, isn't it? So here's a tip. First, think of ass. Then add the K. Ask. Yes, I know, what a tip. I'm sure you'll have no problem with that word from now on, will you? None whatsoever. That's how you say it right. So, how about some news headlines, you say? I thought you'd never ask. So there you go, asked and answered. Time for the news review, brought to us by First Atlantic Bank. Refreshingly different.
We'll start from the front page of the Daily Guide this morning. Has this story, Kumeu, the by-election is actually this morning, starting at
gearing up
7
as we
a.m.
speak.
Yes, and so the story here is we remember Dumso Baumia Pooks NDC comes along with photograph of the Vice President, the President, the Chief of Staff, the NDC candidates, the MPP candidates for Kumeu, Ernest Yao Jemfi, and Enim tipped to win Kumeu seat. Parliament resumes June 6. Another by-election looms. I'm sure they're referring to Asin North and Piak Lord's government's use of oil cash. And so the story about Kumeu is on page 3. I don't know what Winston's expectations are for Kumeu, but by-elections are always very interesting, Winston.
Well, I mean, by-elections are always interesting. And, the fact is that in a lot of the by-elections, you'd have low voter turnout also. And so you would ask yourself the simple question, how is this going to really affect the candidates? Now, the NPP's candidate in 2020 had 14,000. The independent candidate had 11,000. And the NDC's candidate at the time had, less than 3,000. Now, the question is this. The NPP's candidate has changed. And what you must realize also is that when it comes to parliamentary elections, sometimes the person contesting can also make a difference. Now, what were the issues that actually resulted in Kwekudia contesting in 2020 and had a lot of support? Do those same issues persist today? And so is he going to get that same support? I say, I'd be surprised if Kwekudia wins the elections. I'd be very surprised. But of course, everything is possible in elections. But I expect him to win the elections. He would win.
Do you think it will be a referendum of the current government's performance, if you will?
Well, I mean, if you're going into a swing constituency, you probably would say that should be a referendum on the current government's performance. If you're going into, a safe seat, for instance, the Kumeu is a safe seat for the NPP. So normally you would have somebody from the NPP, and in the case of Kwekudia, you saw him, independent candidate, polling 11,000, and the NDC's candidate gets less than 3,000 votes. So we can look at the percentage and probably say, well, this could be, even the referendum. But because there was an independent candidate in 2020.
But that can still be a referendum.
Not
if they
really.
choose the independent candidate over the government's, the party.
Which I don't see happening.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
I think perhaps the biggest factor could be the apathy that you made reference to. Because if you are looking at 14 and 11, then there's the potential that if the numbers don't show up, logically everyone's numbers are going down, which means that whose numbers are actually going down the more, which could change the ball game entirely. And so, hopefully, I'm sure the parties and particularly the MPP, I'm sure they'll be hoping that a lot of people turn up to vote because of how Kumewu is generally. If more people turn out to vote, then it means that they are more likely to win a seat. And I was also looking at a bit of the history. This is actually the second time there's a by-election there.
Yeah.
So Philip Baswa's uncle, Rio Adai Baswa,
Yeah.
when he died while in office, there was a
Yaban
by-election.
and
for
that's when Yaban became
Yaban
the
came
MP.
in.
Yeah.
So this is the second time. But at that time, the MPP obviously retained the seat easily.
So I guess, I mean, Churchill, if indeed the voter turnout becomes an important factor, then is it fair to ask whether the apathy is an effect of people's opinions of how the government's, party empowers,
I don't
performance
think
has
so
been?
necessarily, because the other peg for the national elections ordinarily is the presidential elections as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who, I mean, they go to the booth just because they want to vote in a presidential election, and the MP is just a consequence. I mean, I remember some years back when I went to vote, it was just because of I just wanted to vote in a presidential election. So, because this one, the by-elections generally don't have that. That could explain why over the years the by-election generally doesn't have those numbers turning up.
And that's it really. So you can argue that this would be a referendum, but I say that look, when you're going into a safe seat of this nature, and the reason sometimes I actually would want to use swing seats to make a case and not safe seats is that look, now you have everybody in government in that constituency. I mean, the people who came to Accra yesterday, had discussions, and went back to Kumewu. They're going to be there, and their job is very simple. Go around and make sure that people come out there to come and vote. Now, would Kwekudia have that same kind of mobilization? He may not have it. The NDC can have it, but the NDC is not very strong in Kumewu, for instance. I know there are other groups, that are mobilizing, the National Interest Movement and the Ghana First Reform Agenda led by Dr. Abu Sakara and co are mobilizing and supporting Kwekudia. They want to have...
that's interesting.
Yeah, they want to have, an independent person in parliament, one who says that he's going to have an independent mind. But I don't see that working for Kwekudia because the issues of 2020 are different from the issues of 2023. I mean,
an independent candidate could change the mix, actually. I'm just
It
thinking
could,
of
it
Parliament.
could.
You know, Parliament is now 136 plus 1.
yes.
And on the other side, it's just 136.
Yes.
So if it goes
Yes.
independent candidate, and
Yes.
the independent candidate decides
Yes.
that, okay, I'm not going to do business with the MPP.
Yes, he can change a lot of things. And if he decides to do business with the, with the opposition. But as I'm telling you that he could change a lot of things if he decides to. But he says he's going to have his, yes, he could join the other side. But if he joins the other side, and then you go into Asin North, and for purposes of
It means
analysis...
that Asin North would decide
for purposes
who
of
becomes the majority.
For purposes of analysis, I mean, if Kwekudia were to win,
Yeah.
and you go to Asin North and the NDC wins, then they become majority. If he decides to
do business with them. Yeah.
These are for purposes of analysis. Let's just give the caveat, for purposes of analysis. But I still don't see it happen for Kwekudia. I don't see. But anyway, elections are.
Would you say that Bimbila is a MPP strong seat?
Bimbila has now become, a good seat for the NPP.
Yeah, but you know that before then,
Yeah,
NDC,
Bimbele's
Ibn Chamber's
dynamics.
by-election.
Bimbele's dynamics is one of the things I don't like doing in political analysis, but sometimes you have to do them. The ethnic dynamics plays a major role in politics. I don't like to do that analysis because I don't like, this whole ethnic politics.
But facts are
But
facts.
facts are facts.
Yeah.
So Bimbele's case, if we were to go into Bimbele's case,
Because I was making a point about how
yeah,
by-election,
I mean,
a by-election
but
turned
you see,
a
but
seat
you see-
into an
but you
MPP
see-
stronghold now.
So you see, in Bimbele's case, for instance, in 2002, when Ibn Chambers was living, now at the time 25-year-old, who was a translator at the Bimbele Nance Palace,
Yeah.
Dominic Nitu,
Dominic Nitu.
who's a Konkomba. Now, anybody who knows the Bimbele area will tell you the dominance of his ethnic group around that side. In 2004, when he campaigned on his achievements, he lost. Now come 2008, he shows up again. And this time around, he plays the usual politics. When I say the usual politics, you understand. He wins. And since that time, he's been winning. Okay, so a lot of things would happen here and there. If you also go in there, I'll give you a typical example. You know, for instance, in the Mion constituency, for instance, even though ordinarily you see it as a Dagomba area, there are a lot of Kunkumbes also in that area, for instance. And the NPP over a long period of time had actually come very close to winning the Mion seats. But when they were presenting Kunkumba candidates, but they changed because they also, the feeling was, okay, let's try another candidate. And it didn't really go well for them like it did in the past. A lot of things would happen here and there, you know. But let's move on. I'm sure when we come back tomorrow, we'll do more analysis of
Oh yes,
you
probably
know,
even later today
well,
on our
let's see.
various platforms.
Yes, I mean, in
Yes.
fact, the election headquarters is running throughout the day.
Of course.
So you can just tune in to join news. All the bulletins, there will be extensive coverage, all that is happening.
Yeah, so are you done with the final?
I'm done
Okay,
with
so
the
let me do
daily
the
graphic,
daily graphic. So today's by-election, Kumewu precursor to 2024 polls. We've talked about the Kumewu election. Let's look at another story here. This one saddens me. 2 babies die over hospital power cut. 3 others in critical condition. And when I saw this story, I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? Now, in the Savannah region, Damongo to be precise, St. Anne's Hospital, we're told that a disconnection of power supply, by the Northern Electricity Distribution Company resulted in the death of 2 children because, according to the hospital, these children lost their lives due to the inability to test for compatible blood to transfuse to them.
So there was a power cut at a hospital.
At a hospital, yes.
I'm sorry, but did we not hear discussions about that hospitals being the exception? Power cut as in failure to pay bills, right?
Failure to pay bills. They actually owe Netco.
Yes.
And so they owe Netco 4 million. And so Netco
That's a lot of money, I've
disconnected
gotta say,
them
yeah.
at first. Then the Savannah regional minister intervened and they restored power. Then they failed to pay. So Netco went back again and disconnected them. And my point is simply this. No matter the situation, this is a life-saving
It's a
institution.
hospital.
Yeah.
You do not make life unbearable.
I mean, by 2023, hospitals should have standby generators that automatically should turn on.
Actually,
I mean,
you see, and that again, this brings up this whole issue of the difference between the provision of facilities in the north and in the south of this country, right? Because yeah, you're absolutely right. It should be just a matter of course that a hospital has a generator, but not all hospitals are built the same.
yeah, but that's a big
We know-
problem because
yeah,
of the kind
it's
of
a huge
services
problem.
that they provide. The lights
It's a huge problem.
you cannot
You
afford to
can't
even have
the
them
lights
go
off.
off. Yeah.
But we've all seen the videos. Doctors performing surgery with the light of their phone, their phone flashlight. We've seen them. And they were not happening in the south.
Yeah.
This is a conversation for another day.
Yes, we need to have this conversation. I mean, and 3 are in critical condition, actually. And look, let's just restore power to that facility and make, discussions. Let's reach, an agreement on how they can make payment. Galamsey surges in election years. Former Forestry Commission Executive Director points out. And ICAG, that's ICAG, begins a project
why.
to tackle public waste. Well, your guess is as good as mine. But if you want, I can actually tell you.
Yeah, but it's okay. Let's just
That,
wonder.
that I can tell you. It's very simple. Should I tell you?
Go ahead.
The lack of political will in an election year is a major factor.
Knowing the political implications
Yes.
of
It's
deciding
a-
to enforce
it's a major factor.
the laws.
Let's not forget the increase in demand for the
Yeah.
product of illegal mining.
Yeah.
And a back page in Kruma, interchange 5 victims count losses. That's it for the daily graphic.
The final reports Sami Oku wins overall Best Public Sector CEO Award for 2022.
That's at the 7th CEO Summit. I was there yesterday.
Oh, that's the program you were having the interesting conversation with former President John Dramani Mahama. That's the program?
Yes.
I see.
Well,
Interesting.
congratulations to Sami Auku.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
He's
to him.
done well. I mean, he's transformed the National Lottery Authority. And so based on that, the managing director of ECG, Samuel Dubik Mama, also won an award.
Yeah, good for him.
They're doing well.
It's his birthday today, by the way.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
the
yes,
big
yes.
Muhammad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
40 years today.
He is.
He's a
Happy
young man.
Oh, is
birthday
that
to
young?
him.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday to him.
Good for him.
Some other stories on the front page of the Finder. E-Levy rakes in 861.47 million cedis in 11 months. Inflows drop in 2023 due to rate review at 1%. And BOG gives banks 3 years to rebuild capital buffers, also on the front page. And I'm sure yesterday Mr. Mama was saying that if the banking sector clean up, if the banks have been given time, they could have been able to do much better things. Else, if you are going to apply the same rules, most of the banks will have to be collapsed today.
But he's been answering the as far as practicable question.
Yeah. What did he tell you?
You were listening.
Yeah.
I missed it. What did he say?
He
What
makes
did
the
he
point
say?
that I think the last time we had a conversation, we were talking about whether some analysis had been done.
Yeah.
Yes, he says that had not been done yet. When they come in, they'll look to doing that. But he still thinks that there are some banks, and I think what I heard him suggest, it seems he was talking about Heritage Bank.
Yes, so he made a point about a bank that was, collapsed because its, founder did not meet the fit and proper rule, and that's Heritage Bank, for instance. So he said that, they would look at it case by case. So once he made a Heritage Bank point, then I said, so does that mean you know the number?
Yeah, then he said the analysis had not been done.
The analysis have not been done, so they will look at it case by case, when they come into office. And he would also do, the tier system. He talked about the private sector, the taxes. He thinks that the taxes are hurting businesses. So the question then was that, are you going to, reverse these, acts when you...
He said we have signed a dotted line already.
We signed a
IMF.
dotted line. So
So
after
we'd
the
have to see
IMF
it through.
program,
Yeah.
then we can have that conversation.
But from experience, those taxes they tend to remain anyways. We've seen other, especially the ones that were passed that the little
levies,
opposition
the
complained about
levies.
sunset
I
clauses.
was having a discussion with a former finance minister, and he said to me, if I were the finance minister, on e-levy, I would have said it was for a 2-year period. Once they agree and you pass, you continue.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Although I don't know if they would have agreed.
they may have
With
agreed.
e-levy especially.
Let's get to the online news review.
Yes, it's brought to you this morning by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goyle Good Energy.
And Goyle, your oil marketing company of choice, keeps making life so convenient for you. Go now access Momo for all fuel purchases. Just remember to Momo it at Goyle, and that's not all. You can also use your bank card. That is all bank cards to buy fuel at Goyle. Drive to the nearest Goyle station and buy your fuel. Pay by Momo, bank card, or Goyle Go card. Visit Goyle social media platforms on Facebook, Goyle.official, Instagram, Goyle_GH, and on Twitter, Goyle_official for more information on the service stations. You can conveniently use Momo. Goyle Good Energy, Goyle. Yeah, deal.
Okay, so how many days since the IMF deal went through?
It was about 6 days, yeah.
6 days already.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 6 days that the finance minister has remained at post beyond the date the president said he would be removed. And Murtala Mohammed is saying, I will be shocked if Akufo-Addo sacks Ofori-Atta. He can't do it. You can read the details of
To
that
be fair, the
story.
report that came out was that the president said he will have the conversation after the deal.
Conversation.
Well, let's go for the BBC News. We'll come back to talk about it.
BBC News is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. Believe with us.
For decades,